Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Little Red Riding Hood who lived in a small village near a forest. She was called Little Red Riding Hood because she always wore a red cloak with a hood that her grandmother had made for her. One day, Little Red Riding Hood's mother asked her to take some food and a basket of goodies to her sick grandmother who lived on the other side of the forest. Little Red Riding Hood happily agreed and set out on her journey. As she walked through the forest, a sly and cunning wolf approached her and asked her where she was going. Little Red Riding Hood, unaware of the wolf's true intentions, told him she was going to her grandmother's house. The wolf, knowing the way to the grandmother's house, took a shortcut and arrived there before Little Red Riding Hood. He quickly swallowed the grandmother whole and put on her clothes, pretending to be her. When Little Red Riding Hood arrived, the wolf, disguised as her grandmother, invited her in and asked her to come closer. But Little Red Riding Hood was confused by her grandmother's strange appearance and voice. She asked, "Grandma, what big eyes you have?" "The better to see with, my dear," replied the wolf. "Grandma, what big ears you have?" asked Little Red Riding Hood. "The better to hear you with, my dear," replied the wolf. "Grandma, what big teeth you have?" asked Little Red Riding Hood, starting to feel scared. "The better to eat you with, my dear," exclaimed the wolf, jumping up to devour Little Red Riding Hood. Just then, a hunter who was passing by heard the commotion and rushed in to save Little Red Riding Hood. He chased the wolf away and cut open its stomach to rescue the grandmother, who was still alive. From that day on, Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother were much more careful when traveling through the forest. And they always remembered to be wary of strangers who might not be what they seem. The moral of the story is to be careful when talking to strangers and not to trust them blindly. We should always be cautious and listen to our instincts when it comes to our safety. Once upon a time, an old woman was baking a gingerbread man in her kitchen. She gave him raisins for eyes, a cherry for his nose, and icing for his mouth. As soon as she put him in the oven, the gingerbread man jumped up and ran away. The old woman chased after him, but the gingerbread man ran out of the house and into the street. As he ran, he shouted, "Run, run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man." Along the way, he met a cow who said, "Stop, little gingerbread man. I want to eat you." The gingerbread man replied, "I'm not afraid of you. I'm too fast for you." And he kept running. Next, he met a horse who said, "Stop, little gingerbread man. I want to eat you." The gingerbread man replied, "I'm not afraid of you. I'm too fast for you." And he kept running. Finally, he came to a river and met a sly fox who said, "Jump on my back, little gingerbread man, and I'll take you across the river." The gingerbread man was wary at first but decided to trust the fox. As they crossed the river, the gingerbread man became too comfortable and started to boast, "I'm the fastest runner in the world. No one can catch me." The fox replied, "I can't run as fast as you, but I can swim. Why don't you jump on my nose and I'll take you to the other side?" The gingerbread man thought it was a good idea and jumped onto the fox's nose. But as they got to the middle of the river, the sly fox threw his head back, and the gingerbread man flew into the air. The fox caught him in his mouth and ate him up. The moral of the story is that pride and arrogance can lead to a fall. The gingerbread man was too boastful and proud of his speed, which led to his downfall. It's important to be humble and kind to others, regardless of our own abilities or achievements. Once upon a time, in a farmyard, a mother duck was waiting for her eggs to hatch. When they finally did, she saw that one of the eggs was bigger than the others. When the chicks hatched, she was surprised to see that one of them was not like the others. It was a large and gray bird that looked different from the other fluffy yellow ducklings. The mother duck was ashamed of the big gray bird and didn't treat it the same as the others. The poor bird was teased and made fun of by the other animals. He was so sad and felt like he didn't belong. One day, the ugly duckling decided to leave the farmyard and set off on his own. He traveled for a long time, facing many challenges and hardships. He was lonely and hungry, but he kept moving forward. Finally, he found a beautiful lake where he met some other large gray birds. To his surprise, they were not ducks, but swans. The ugly duckling realized that he wasn't a duck after all, but a beautiful swan. The other swans welcomed him with open wings, and he felt a sense of belonging that he had never felt before. The ugly duckling was no longer ugly, but a magnificent swan, admired by everyone who saw him. He was happy and proud of who he was and knew that he had finally found his true home. The moral of the story is that we should never judge someone by their appearance or treat them differently because they look different from us. Everyone is unique and has something special about them. It's important to be kind and accepting of others, regardless of their appearance or background. Once upon a time, in a forest, a tortoise and a hare had an argument about who was faster. The hare was very boastful and made fun of the tortoise for being so slow. The tortoise, tired of the hare's taunts, challenged him to a race. The hare, confident of his speed, accepted the challenge and said, "I will take a nap during the race since I am so much faster than you. I'll still win, no matter what." The race began, and the hare zoomed off, leaving the tortoise far behind. The hare ran so fast that he soon became very tired and decided to take a quick nap. The tortoise, on the other hand, kept going, slowly but steadily. The hare woke up from his nap, expecting the tortoise to be nowhere in sight. But to his surprise, the tortoise was close to the finish line. The hare tried to catch up, but the tortoise won the race. The hare was shocked and couldn't believe that he had lost to a slow tortoise. The tortoise explained, "Slow and steady wins the race. You were too overconfident and thought you could win easily, but you got too tired and fell asleep. I kept going at my own pace, and it was enough to win the race." The hare realized his mistake and apologized to the tortoise. From then on, the hare never made fun of anyone and respected others' abilities. The moral of the story is that slow and steady wins the race. It's important to focus on your own goals and not compare yourself to others. Sometimes, taking small but consistent steps can lead to great success. Once upon a time, in a dense jungle, a ferocious lion was sleeping under a tree. Suddenly, a tiny mouse ran over his nose, waking him up. The lion, being the king of the jungle, felt angry and caught the mouse in his huge paw. The little mouse pleaded with the lion, "Please let me go. I'm so small, I won't be able to fulfill your hunger." The lion laughed, "How can a tiny mouse like you be of any help to me?" The mouse said, "I may be small, but I am quick and nimble. One day, I may be able to help you. Please let me go." The lion, amused by the mouse's words, decided to let him go. A few days later, the lion was caught in a hunter's trap. He roared in pain and called for help. Hearing his cries, the little mouse rushed to the spot. The mouse saw the lion struggling in the trap and said, "Don't worry, my friend. I will help you." The mouse gnawed at the ropes of the trap and freed the lion. The lion was grateful and thanked the mouse. From that day on, the lion and the mouse became good friends. The lion realized that size didn't matter when it came to helping others. The moral of the story is that one should never underestimate the power of small things. Every creature, big or small, has some unique talent or ability that can help others in need. Once upon a time, there was a young boy who tended to his father's flock of sheep on a hill near his village. The boy was a bit mischievous and loved to play pranks on the villagers, so he often cried wolf just to see them come running. One day, while watching over the flock, the boy became bored and cried out, "Wolf! Wolf! There's a wolf attacking the sheep!" The villagers heard his cries and came running to help, only to find that it was just a false alarm. The boy thought it was funny to see the villagers fooled, so he cried wolf again another day. This time, the villagers were angry at the boy for playing such a cruel prank. They scolded him and warned him not to cry wolf unless it was a real emergency. A few days later, a real wolf attacked the boy's sheep, and the boy cried out for help. But the villagers, thinking it was another false alarm, did not come to his aid. The wolf killed many of the sheep before the boy was able to drive it away. The boy learned his lesson and realized the consequences of his actions. From then on, he never cried wolf again, and the villagers forgave him for his earlier pranks. The moral of the story is that honesty is important, and false alarms can lead to dangerous consequences. It is important to only ask for help when it is truly needed, and not to play pranks that could cause harm to oneself or others. Once upon a time, there was an emperor who loved to wear the finest and most luxurious clothes. He had a group of tailors who were known throughout the land for their remarkable talent and exquisite fabrics. One day, two swindlers arrived in town and claimed they could weave the most beautiful fabric in the world, so light and fine that it would be invisible to anyone who was unfit for his position or stupid. The emperor was intrigued and ordered the swindlers to create the fabric for him. The swindlers pretended to work hard, but in reality, they did nothing. They asked for more and more money to buy the finest thread, but they never actually wove a single thread. Finally, they presented the emperor with his new clothes, which they claimed were so fine that only the most intelligent people could see them. The emperor, wanting to prove his intelligence, pretended that he could see the clothes, although he could not see anything at all. The emperor then decided to wear his new clothes in a grand parade, showing off to all the people in the town. Everyone who saw the emperor praised the fine fabric, not wanting to admit that they could not see anything. However, a small child in the crowd, who was too young to understand the importance of the emperor's position, exclaimed, "But the emperor is not wearing any clothes at all." The people in the crowd began to whisper and murmur, realizing that they had been fooled. The emperor, embarrassed and humiliated, quickly returned to his palace. He realized that he had been tricked by the swindlers and that he should have listened to the small child who spoke the truth. From then on, the emperor learned to be more careful about the people he trusted and the things he believed in. He also learned that honesty and truthfulness are more important than wealth and status. The moral of the story is that it is important to always be truthful and honest, even if it means admitting that we are wrong or have been fooled. We should not be afraid to speak the truth and stand up for what is right, even in the face of opposition. Once upon a time, in a far-off kingdom, there was a beautiful princess who loved to play near a pond in the forest. One day, while playing near the pond, the princess met a frog who spoke to her. The frog told her that he was a prince under a spell and that he could only be turned back into a human if a princess were to kiss him. The princess was initially frightened by the talking frog, but she felt sorry for him and promised to help him. She picked up the frog and took him to the palace with her. The king and queen were surprised to see their daughter with a frog, but the princess explained the frog's story. The king and queen were skeptical of the frog's story, but they decided to humor the princess and allowed her to keep the frog in her room. That night, as the princess was about to go to sleep, the frog appeared again and asked her to kiss him. The princess was hesitant but eventually agreed to kiss the frog. As soon as the princess kissed the frog, he transformed into a handsome prince. The prince explained that an evil witch had cast a spell on him and that he had been waiting for someone to break the spell. The princess and the prince fell in love, and they lived happily ever after. The moral of the story is that kindness and compassion can lead to unexpected rewards. Sometimes, the things we fear or dismiss can turn out to be valuable, and we should not judge others based on their appearance or initial impressions. Additionally, the story teaches us that true love can come from unexpected places, and that we should always be open to the possibility of finding love in unlikely circumstances. Long ago, in the town of Hamelin, the people were plagued by rats. The rats were everywhere, stealing food and causing chaos in the town. The people tried everything they could to get rid of the rats, but nothing worked. The situation was so bad that the people of Hamelin were desperate for a solution. One day, a stranger appeared in Hamelin. He was a strange-looking man, dressed in colorful clothes, and carrying a magical pipe. The stranger told the people that he could rid the town of rats for a fee. The people were skeptical, but they were so desperate that they agreed to pay the stranger's fee. The stranger then began to play his magical pipe. The music was so enchanting that all the rats in the town came out of their hiding places and followed the piper. The piper led the rats to the river, where they all drowned. The people of Hamelin were overjoyed that the rats were gone, but when they refused to pay the piper his fee, the stranger became angry. He played his magical pipe again, but this time, it was the children of Hamelin who followed him out of the town. The piper led the children to a magical land where they were never seen again. The people of Hamelin were devastated at the loss of their children and regretted not paying the piper his fee. The lesson of the story is that promises must be kept and that people should be careful when dealing with strangers. It also teaches us that there are often consequences to our actions and that we should think carefully about the decisions we make. Once upon a time, there were 3 billy goats who lived on a hillside. They were named Gruff, Fluff, and Stuff. The goats were always hungry, and they longed to eat the lush green grass on the other side of a nearby bridge. However, a mean and ugly troll lived under the bridge and would not let anyone pass. One day, the 3 billy goats decided to cross the bridge to eat the grass on the other side. The smallest goat, Gruff, was the first to try. When he reached the bridge, the troll appeared and said, "Who's that crossing my bridge?" "It is only I, the littlest billy goat Gruff," replied the goat. "I am going to the other side to eat the green grass." The troll replied, "No one passes over my bridge without paying a toll." The little goat had no money, so the troll threatened to eat him up. The goat then had a brilliant idea. "Please don't eat me," he said. "Wait for my brother Fluff, who is much bigger and tastier than me." The troll agreed to wait for the second goat, and the little goat crossed the bridge to safety. When the second goat, Fluff, approached the bridge, the troll again appeared and asked who was crossing the bridge. Fluff replied, "It is only I, the middle billy goat Fluff. I am going to the other side to eat the green grass." The troll again demanded a toll, but Fluff also had no money to pay. So, he too, promised the troll that his bigger and tastier brother, Stuff, would soon be crossing the bridge. The troll agreed to wait for Stuff, and Fluff safely crossed the bridge. When the third goat, Stuff, approached the bridge, the troll appeared again, but this time, the goat was ready. As soon as the troll demanded the toll, Stuff charged at the troll, knocking him off the bridge into the river below. The 3 goats then happily ate the green grass on the other side of the bridge. The moral of the story is that brains can overcome brawn. The littlest goat Gruff used his cleverness to save himself and his brothers from the troll, and they all lived happily ever after.